HD, does your method of setting up traction control still work after the 1.0 release? HD, do you know that you can run way lower TC settings now? These kinds of questions I get asked a lot at the moment, and believe me, I get why. I would like to answer them, but doing so properly is actually kind of tricky. On screen you're seeing one qualifying session I did in the Merc with TC slip at 11, like outlined in my guide. The other one is with TC slip at 0, so off. Can you tell me which is which? I was able to go quite a bit faster with one of the settings, but is that even significant with just a couple of quali laps? I knew I won't have time to do proper offline testing this week, as that takes hours if you want to do it right. And I also wanted to get at least a couple of online races in this week. And try the update 1.1 changes for the Mercedes AMG because there were some small ones. So I tried to combine all of that, which will hopefully also get us some preliminary results at least for TC slip. If that worked and why the races were a bit frustrating, we'll take a look at now. By the way, I could use your help, so stick around to the end if you're interested in contributing to the testing. But let's actually get to the first race now. This one I ran TC slip at 0. Yeah, completely off. Traction control is halved from the default and power cut is left as is. Quali did go totally fine with this setting, which was surprising to me. I've heard other people say that running really low TC values was possible now, but they never said if you were actually faster with it. I wasn't able to tell from quali yet if that was the case, so let's also see how TC slip at 0 performs here at this race. As you can see, qualified in second place, which I was very happy with, but it means that we will have the outside for the first corner, which is a little bit dangerous. Guy in P1 leaves me enough space though, and also everyone behind is not sending it like crazy, but since I was on the outside here, someone else manages to go on my inside for the next turn, which wasn't too great. And I was kind of aware here going up the hill that might be dangerous, but the Porsche behind was definitely keeping it very safe and kind of tried a switchback here. He had a little bit more exit speed, which forced me onto the defensive line for the next turn. And as I turn in here, I really wasn't in a great position and this happens. What happened? Well, I think for this one, I just was way too aggressive on the throttle because I wasn't really used to taking that turn so tightly. So I just spun. Was that the fault of TC slip at 0? I'm not so sure because I think that's more of a case of the normal traction control. And to make matters even worse, as I got going again here, the two guys that I was kind of behind, had a little bit of a moment. The Porsche definitely quite aggressive and takes out the Merc in front and then also me, which meant in this case basically race over for me. I mean, I tried to get going again here, but also on the grass it was kind of difficult to even get the car back on track. And that meant that in the end I was just fighting to get back somewhere in this race, and I managed to go from P20 to P12, which was nice I guess, but overall not the result that I was hoping for. I still did the rest of this race with TC slip at 0, and I have to say it didn't really feel all that bad, though I had a couple of small moments where I feel like maybe higher TC slip values would have allowed me to just keep going as normally and I wouldn't have had to counter steer to get the car back under control. But overall, yes, you can run TC slip at 0, at least in the Merc here, but should you? Is it really good? Does it make you faster? That is what I kind of wanted to figure out here. So for the next race I did both the quali and the race with TC slip at 11, so maxed once again. Qualifying once again did go great, and don't worry, I'm gonna show you at the end which quali lap was which, so with which TC setting I was actually faster. But first let's see how TC slip at 11 works in this race. Just to interject real quick here, if you enjoy what I do on this channel, then please leave a like on the video, that really helps me out a lot, and subscribe if you haven't already. But now back to the action. So once again, same starting position, but this time the guy in P1 in the Aston this time has a little bit of a better start than me, so I'm just able to tuck in behind, no side by side, through the first corner, which also means there is no real possibility for the Merc behind me to attack me here. There's almost an opportunity as the Aston is a little bit slow through this tight right-hander, but all fine and we are able to just keep going. And also the Merc behind, the yellow one, is not able to attack me, because he didn't have that great of an exit. But still, there's a little bit of an opportunity for him here, as I am kind of caught off guard by the Aston seemingly being a little bit early on brakes there, or maybe I was just late and I kind of missed the apex a little bit. And now we have a really nice battle with the yellow Merc on my left side now. And this battle goes on for quite some time here, as yeah, he was able to out of that hairpin go just alongside, and we have a nice side by side here until this happens. And at the moment when I was driving this, I was really frustrated. But first, let's take a look how nice and clean it was before that happened. You can see we both leave each other plenty of space. There is some back and forth of like trying to get the upper hand here, but it's all completely fair. We are taking it very careful. We're not really that close, but here, like, I'm not quite sure. Maybe he thought he had, he was in front, but he wasn't, and he just turned in on me. At least that's my interpretation of what happened here. Let me know if you agree or disagree with that. But yeah, that definitely wasn't great. Gave me and probably also him a bunch of damage and sent us back. And that's not the end of it, because then this happens, which I'm really always very confused by. You can see here the McLaren brakes too late, bumps into the back of me, gives me even more damage, and then still decides, oh, even though I just pushed you out of the way, I'm still gonna just take that overtake. Like, that I don't understand. I mean, he clearly made a mistake and then tries to benefit from that. That's always something I don't like to see. But yeah, all worked out still in the end. I mean, yes, damage is definitely a thing now, and I was also getting kind of agitated at this point. The first race didn't go all that great, and now this shenanigans happening here, wasn't very happy about that, I have to say. But we're still in P3. We were able to keep going because we were not completely spun from all these incidents, so we're still good, and that's nice. So there is still a chance for this to be a good race. And while we are here and yeah, just trying to keep up with the guy that's now in P2, we definitely lost out to P1. He is very happy in the front there, I think. Let's talk about what changes happened, because we got update 1.1. I'm not even quite sure if that's the actual versioning, but there is an update to the 1.0 patch, which brought fixes to the Merc, which we're driving, and that was one of the reasons I wanted to take it, because I know a lot of you complained, and rightfully so, I think, about the, well, lackluster force feedback, and that, I can say, at least for me, is better now. It's definitely stronger. They changed it, but hold that thought, as we're having a little bit of a situation after the yellow Merc overtook me and the leader in the Aston seemingly having big problems. I collide with the grey-silver Merc. I definitely thought he was going a little bit wider, but he decided to go for the apex still, and yeah, I think that was mostly on me. It was definitely a little bit of a... it was hard to judge that situation, let's say it like that, because yeah, the Aston definitely had some problems in the front, and there was just a lot of like back and forth with the cars in front of me going on, so it was kind of difficult to judge. And we're still having some problems here with the Porsche behind now also in the mix. So yeah, lots of stuff going on in this race. But going back to the force feedback, so they increased the coefficient so that for me the Merc force feedback now feels kind of similar to the other GT3 cars, which is great. They also apparently changed the default setups. I haven't been able to check what exactly they changed, but they definitely changed the TC settings, which were a lot higher before. They are now at 555 for default, at least on this track. And they maybe also did some other changes. The car overall felt good to me. I mean, it still has the default setup problems of being very understeery, even though, if you can see here, if you make a mistake, me going over the curb or even the gravel there a little bit was definitely a problem. But we also have some other problems going on here, because you can see the BMW behind me decides to, well, kind of go for a gap here that, yeah, maybe that was there because I had to take a little bit of evasive action. But yeah, take a look at the BMW behind, because we will see more of him. Let's just say it like that. But yeah, completing my thoughts on the Merc. As I said, it feels better now than it did before. Definitely let me know your thoughts if you've tried it after the recent update, if force feedback now feels better to you, and how you feel the default setting or default setup is doing. So, by the way, that was the leader, the Aston that was in P1. I had a moment there, not quite sure if there was contact, but yeah, and by the way, looking behind, we'll take a look at the replay once again. I was really unhappy with this. So BMW here brakes too late and kind of forces me to take a little bit of evasive action, because I saw him going for ascent there and I really didn't know what was happening. But then also has kind of, I wouldn't call it retaliation, but I was frustrated at this point. So you take a look, because he forces me wide, I had to lift off brakes to not collide with him in that corner. I kind of sent it. I really did send it for this corner, and this collision was completely on me, and I want to apologize for that. That is not what I usually want to do. And yeah, I was just born out of the frustration in this race. Not nice sportsmanship by me. But you'll see later that this is not the end of things for this race. There are quite a bunch of things still happening. And yeah, I wasn't super happy with these two races that I had, I have to say. But yeah, this also gives me the opportunity to talk about, well, the Merc, which I think we covered now. As I said, I want to hear your thoughts, as by the way, BMW once again kind of sends it into this corner and I have to leave him the space. What else are we going to talk about? Well, we're going to talk about traction control. As I said, I would like to do proper testing, and you probably saw my video where I did the guide on traction control and came up with a method that a lot of you are using and to great effect, and I'm really happy about that. And it kind of feels like things maybe have changed with the update 1.0 release, because it is overall well, not as difficult anymore. There isn't as well, the abuse of slip angle is not back, but you can definitely drive with more slip angle again. The tires really allow for a little bit more, and that could lead you to believing, well, then you shouldn't run TC slip at max anymore because you want a little bit of extra rotation. And I've seen a lot of other people online saying that, well, both in the comments, and also I've seen other content creators saying just run very low TC settings overall, and especially TC slip at off. And I was kind of curious, so I wanted to do proper testing offline and take a couple of hours of my time to try different cars, different tracks with different combinations of traction control settings. But it's really difficult to do so if you don't have the time for that, because as I said, it takes a couple of hours and you really need to do that back to back, so you actually have a basis for comparison other than going back to your footage again and then reviewing. That's kind of yeah, thing I don't want to do. So I try to do it here in these races. We're gonna come back to that point, by the way, in a bit, as this race comes to a very unfortunate close, as the BMW forces his way past me, and I kind of frustrated, try to go for a gap that isn't there, and well, that then leads to me spinning out once again. Let's take a look in the replay. You can see here I have a little bit of problems of keeping my position here against the Porsche. BMW here goes for that gap. He goes even more and collides with the Porsche. Was really unhappy to see his driving, I have to say. And well, that leads me to spinning out here, because I then decide to, I still want to go on the inside there. There was no space. I go over the grass, the gravel, and just spin out. Once again, not the fault of traction control, just the fault of my driving. I'm eventually able to get going once again, and I'm in P16 at this point, which means once again there is a lot of work to do to even get close to where I was before. And yeah, sadly, the nice fighting for the top positions is now over for me once again. But putting those frustrations aside, as I said, I kind of tried with these two races to figure out if, well, running lower TC slip settings is actually a good idea. And just from feeling it out, I have to say, yes, you can run lower TC slip settings. You saw in the first race that I was able to drive that with TC slip at 0. But I have to say, even in the TC Slip 11 race, the car didn't feel all that different. I would say that with TC Slip at max here in the second race, I didn't have as many situations where I needed to correct a slide that I was entering, be that deliberate or not. But that is once again just the feeling side of things. Did it feel good to drive with TC Slip at 0? Yes, it kind of did. Maybe sometimes a little bit sketchy. And in the other way around, did it feel good to drive TC Slip at 11? Yes, that also felt good. So from the races, I have to say I couldn't really decide which I preferred. Though just from my driving style and what I want out of the car in a race situation, I think I prefer higher TC Slip settings just because I feel safer there. And that is where, after you seeing me finish here in P13 for this race, which considering the circumstances was still okay, we'll get to the big reveal. So, quali laps. I showed you those in the beginning, and well, maybe you guessed it correctly, maybe you didn't. But actually the clip on the left side is with TC Slip at 0, and the one on the right is with TC Slip at 11. And the result was that I actually was quite a bit faster with TC Slip at 11. And you saw the times in the very beginning. And I can tell you once again, with TC Slip at 0, I was able to do a 146.3, and with TC Slip at 11, I was able to do a 145.8 in qualifying. So, how can that be? Well, I have two explanations. The first one is quite boring, but maybe I was just overall driving better when I had TC Slip set to 11, so I was just having a better qualifying session overall with that setting, and it had nothing to do with the setting itself. Or the second explanation, which could very well be the case, is that I was just more comfortable pushing the car with TC Slip at 11, just a subconscious thing where I felt a lot more comfortable to actually push the car, so I was then able to go faster, where with TC Slip at 0 I was maybe being a little bit hesitant and careful, not pushing the car as much because I was fearing that it might slip away from me. And yeah, that is the big problem of conducting a test like this with just very limited data. Right now I can't tell you which one of these explanations is correct. I can tell you that TC Slip at 0 and at 11 both work. You can drive those, at least here in the Mercedes AMG. I would wager though that if you're driving at least somewhat competently, that the time difference between running TC Slip at 0 and at 11 is quite minor. Can you extract more lap time with running lower TC Slip values? Well, maybe if you know how to control the slip and really make use of that. Would you lose a lot of time with running TC Slip at max like I outlined in my TC guide? I don't think so, even after patch 1.0. But as I said in the beginning, to really know if the optimal TC settings now in patch 1.0 are different to before, I would have to go and do the same tests I did for my TC settings video. So take a lot of time, drive a bunch of different cars on a bunch of different tracks with a bunch of different TC settings. I still want to do that at some point, but I just don't have the time for it at the moment. And that is where you come in. If you want to help, then what you can do is just take your favorite car onto your favorite track and try a bunch of different TC settings and try to set the best lap time you can with each. If you want to make it a little bit easier for yourself, then just take the maximum and minimum TC Slip value to compare for a start. If you want to do that, then note down in the comments which car and track you used, which different values of traction control you compared, how those felt to drive, and what lap times you were able to do with each setting. Maybe this way we can, as a community, figure out which TC settings are the best now after update 1.0. But that is all that I have for you right now. Feel free to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. You can watch another race of mine, which hopefully went a little bit better than the two races I showed you today, on screen here. I want to thank you a lot for watching. I've been HD Racing, and I will hopefully see you in the next one.